So at the beginning of the lab, at your lab station, you're going to see a 250 milliliter beaker, and what you're going to do first is find the mass of this beaker. So you're going to take it to the scale, and make sure that before you start that you always make sure to zero the scale. Okay, the lid should be closed, and then you can zero the scale. After that, you're going to open up the lid, and then you're going to find the mass of your 250 milliliter beaker. So you're going to put your beaker on there, and then whatever the number stops at, that is going to be the mass of your beaker. After you find the mass of your beaker, you're going to take it to the instructor, and then you're going to receive a scoop of sodium bicarbonate. And so your instructor should give you about that much, just one scoop of sodium bicarbonate. And what you're going to do is you're going to take it back to your scale. Again, make sure that you zero it before you use it. You're going to open up the lid, and then after that, you are going to put your scale with the sodium bicarbonate in there. So the mass should be different now because it contains some other stuff in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the mass of your beaker that you had originally from this number, and that will give you the mass of just the sodium bicarbonate inside. After you find the mass of your beaker with the sodium bicarbonate inside, you're going to go to the instructor and you're going to receive this. So it just looks like a clear liquid inside a 250 milliliter beaker, but this is going to be your sulfuric acid. Now, to be very careful with this because this compound is very corrosive, and so you don't want it, getting in your skin or eyes. So this would be a good time for you to put your goggles on now because you are going to be working with an acid. So I'm going to be putting my goggles on real quick. And once you put on your goggles, you're going to start to add the sulfuric acid into the sodium bicarbonate. You're going to be adding this liquid into the powder. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your stirring rod, because you're going to be using your stirring rod, and you're going to slowly add the sulfuric acid into the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so make sure you pour only a little at a time. And you should notice that it starts to bubble. And as it bubbles, you're just going to stir it with your stirring rod. Okay. Now you don't want to add too much at one time because it's going to bubble over and you're going to lose a lot of your reactants. And so you're going to add some more. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be adding your sulfuric acid into your sodium bicarbonate, and you're going to stir. And you're going to do this slowly and you're steadily, and you're going to do this until adding the sulfuric acid no longer causes the sodium bicarbonate to bubble. So I'm going to add some more, and then I'm going to stir, and you're going to notice that it's still bubbling. And what you're going to do is you're going to keep adding until it no longer bubbles when you add the sulfuric acid. Okay, so if you guys notice, on that addition, it didn't bubble as much, right? The bubbling is starting to slow down. So I'm going to stir, 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 stir. And if you notice, when I added the sulfuric acid to the sodium bicarbonate, it no longer bubbled. And so that's when you know you can stop adding your sulfuric acid. Once you stop adding your sulfuric acid, what you're going to do is you're going to return the acid to your instructor. So go back and give it back to your instructor because you don't need it any longer, and it's just best to get any hazardous materials out of your lab station. So you're going to grab this one, the original one that the sulfuric acid was in, and return it to your instructor. Alright, now that you've added your sulfuric acid to your sodium bicarbonate solution and it stopped bubbling, you're ready to move on to the next step of the lab, where you use the Bunsen burner. So the setup's going to be a little bit different because instead of using a clay triangle, we're going to be using this. It's going to be this wire mesh, and all you're going to do is you're going to use the wire mesh that you find on your lab station, and you're going to put it on top of the ring. That's pretty much it. After that, it's just business as usual. You're going to turn on your gas, make sure the collar's closed, make sure you turn your valve so that you can hear the gas, and then afterwards you're just going to light your Bunsen burner. Now the key thing that you want for this lab that's different than what we had before is you want to make sure that you have a smaller flame, but you do not want to create a blue jet. So don't touch the collar to create a blue jet. You want to keep it in this just regular kind of wispy flame. After that, you're gonna put your Bunsen burner underneath the wire mesh, and you're gonna wanna make the fire a bit small. You're gonna turn the gas valve to do that. Now, one key thing about this lab is that you will not be adjusting the height of the ring, okay? That is one thing that can earn you an automatic 0 on this lab. The ring height has already been adjusted to you. The only thing that you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be changing the size of the fire, but you will not be touching the ring. Okay, if I see anybody touching the ring, that will result in an automatic 0 for this lab because it will pose a safety hazard, which you'll see in just a second. Okay, so once you have the Bunsen burner underneath the wire mesh, what you want to do is you want to turn the gas valve to the right, and that's going to make the flame smaller. You want to make the flame lower than the wire mesh, but you want to make sure that the fire doesn't go off. After that, you're going to get the solution that you mixed, the sodium bicarbonate and sulfuric acid, and you're just going to put it on top of the flame. Now, you want to make sure that your flame or your beaker is on top of the flame and that it's stable on top of the wire mesh. Make sure that it is able to stand on its own, and then after that you can turn up the flame a little bit. Please don't make the flame really big. You don't want it coming off the sides of the beaker, but you do want it underneath, because what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be boiling off all of the liquid inside of the beaker, and that's what we're going to be doing in this step. Alright, so the purpose of this portion of the lab is to heat the beaker until all of the fluid inside of the beaker has boiled off. This should take about 20 minutes. Now, the key thing that you want to keep in mind is you do not want the liquid to overflow while you are boiling it. So that's why we want to make sure the fire is not too big. It should just be a steady boil like you see in the video right here. Again, this process is going to take a long time, about 20 minutes, because you're going to go until all of the liquid has been boiled off. During that time, you should be working on your post-lab calculations because you're just going to be waiting otherwise. And so all you're going to be doing is going to your post-lab handout now, and you're going to be working on your calculations, your stoichiometry for the theoretical yields that you're going to be looking for in this lab. Alrighty guys, so once all of the liquid has been boiled off completely, you're just gonna let it rest for at least 10 minutes. Now, everything in this setup is really hot. Even this metal pole that the ring is standing on is gonna be hot. So just make sure you're exercising caution around it. Just let it sit for about 10 minutes, maybe even longer if you have to. And then once you're able to move the beaker with both hands, that's when you're able to take it to the scale and find the mass of the beaker and the solid product inside. When you look inside, you should be able to see solid product. That's the thing that you made in your chemical reaction. We just boiled off all the water, and so now we're able to see it, because before it was dissolved in the water and now it's settled at the bottom of the beaker. So if you look at the beaker, you should see that there's solid product that is created sitting at the bottom and the sides of the inside of your beaker.